Scene 1. The wake-up call. Habit number 1. Wake up early. Visual, black screen, alarm ringing softly. Voiceover. There was a time when I used to wake up at 9, sometimes even 10 in the morning. I'd scroll through my phone, check random notifications, and before I knew it, an hour was gone. Just like that. Visual, clock showing 5 a.m., hand reaching over to stop alarm. Everything changed the day I decided to wake up at 5 a.m. At first, it felt impossible. Why would anyone get up when it's still dark outside? When your bed feels like the most comfortable place on earth? But here's the truth that no one told me before. Success doesn't sleep in. Visual, opening curtains, sunlight barely rising, peaceful, quiet morning. The world is silent at 5 a.m. No distractions, no messages, no noise, just you, your thoughts, and pure, undisturbed time. That time became my advantage. Instead of rushing out of bed, running late, and reacting to the day, I started owning my morning. Visual, journaling, meditating, reading, or working out alone. In those early hours, I read. I planned my goals. I worked on my side hustle. I visualized the life I wanted, and slowly it started becoming real. Waking up early didn't just give me time, it gave me clarity, it gave me confidence, and most importantly, it gave me momentum. Because when you start the day with purpose, everything else follows. Visual, sunrise, city. Coming to life slowly while you're already focused and ahead, millionaires. Don't wait for the day to begin. They begin the day on their terms. This habit, waking up at 5 a.m., was the first domino. Once I nailed this, the rest started falling into place. Text on screen. Habit number 1, wake up early. Voiceover. Final. Line. You don't need to be a morning person. You just need to be a person who's serious about change. Scene 2. The power of books. Habit number 2, read every day. Visual. Quiet room. Close-up shot of a hand pulling a book from a shelf. Voiceover. I never used to read. I thought books were boring, or worse, useless. If it wasn't on Instagram or YouTube, I didn't care. But then I heard this quote, "The person you'll be in 5 years depends on the books you read and the people you surround yourself with." That hit me, because back then I was stuck. Same routine, same mindset, same results. So I made a small change, just 10 pages a day. One book, one idea, one lesson at a time. Visual, reading a book with a cup of coffee, underlining passages, writing, notes. The first book I read opened my mind. The second one challenged my beliefs. The third gave me an idea that later made me money. And I realized something powerful. Millionaires don't just read for entertainment. They read to grow. Reading taught me about investing, discipline, confidence, leadership, money, and mindset. Things I never learned in school. Things that literally changed my life. Visual. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Atomic Habits, Think, and Grow Rich stacked on a table. Every time I opened a book, it felt like having a private conversation with a millionaire mentor. And those lessons, they compounded, just like interest. Small ideas turned into big changes. New thoughts replaced old habits. Visual. Calendar showing consistent reading habit. Bookshelf growing over time. You want to upgrade your life? Start by upgrading your mind, and there's no faster way to do that than to start reading. Text on screen. Habit number 2, read every day. Voiceover. Final line. The average CEO reads 60 books a year. The average person scrolls 60 minutes a day. Choose which one you want to. B. Scene 3. Budget. Like a boss. Habit number 3. Track. every rupee. Visual, fast cuts of spending, coffee, food delivery, clothes, phone bills. Voiceover. I used to wonder where all my money went. Every month it felt like it just disappeared. I wasn't buying anything big, but somehow I was always broke before payday. Until one day I asked myself, where is my money actually going? That question changed everything. Visual, sitting at a desk with a notebook or opening a budgeting app. So I started writing it down. Every single rupee. Yoffie, logged, snacks, logged, online shopping, logged. At first, it felt annoying, but then something clicked. I started seeing patterns, impulse spending, useless subscriptions, emotional purchases. Visual, highlighting unnecessary expenses on a spreadsheet or app, and I realized it wasn't that I didn't make enough money, it was that I didn't respect my money. Visual, cutting a credit card, canceling subscriptions, setting a budget. Millionaires track their money. They know where it's going, what it's doing, and how to make it grow. So I started budgeting like a boss. 50% to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings and investments. Every rupee had a job, and for the first time I felt in control. Visual, graphs showing money growth, investment apps, savings increasing. Small amounts I used to waste, I started investing them, and the results were shocking. Within months, I had an emergency fund. Within a year, I had investments working for me. It's not about being rich. It's about being responsible. Text on screen. Habit number 3. Track every rupee. Voiceover. Final line. If you don't control your money, it will control you. Want to change your life? Start by checking your wallet. Scene 4. Create more than you consume. Habit number 4. Build, don't just scroll. Visual, split screen. Left side shows someone endlessly scrolling on social media. Right side shows someone working on a project, writing, filming, coding, or creating content. Voiceover. Every day, we consume more than we realize. Videos, reels, stories, tweets, ads, swipe after swipe, hour after hour. Our brains are busy, but our lives are stuck. I used to be that person. I knew everything about the latest trends, memes, and influencers. But my own goals, unfinished, forgotten, replaced by distraction. Visual. Person lying in bed, looking tired, surrounded by phone light in the dark. Then one day I asked myself, what have I actually built? What do I have to show for all this scrolling? And that was my turning point. Visual. Putting phone down, opening a laptop or notebook with a fresh mindset. I made a rule. Create more than I consume. Even just a little. Instead of watching 10 videos, I started filming one. Instead of reading comments, I started writing content. Instead of dreaming, I started building, and slowly my mindset shifted. Visual. Filming YouTube videos, designing something, writing, editing, building a product, learning, a new skill. When you create, you grow. You learn. You improve. You stop being a spectator in life and become a player. Because here's what I discovered. Millionaires are creators. They create value. They create solutions. They create opportunities. While the world is busy watching, they're busy. Building. Visual. Time lapse of working on a side hustle, uploading content, making progress day by day. That shift didn't just change my productivity, it changed my confidence. It gave me purpose. It made me realize I'm not here to just exist. I'm here to build something that lasts. And here's the best part. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Even if no one watches. Even if no one claps. Do it anyway, because when you create, you grow. Text on screen. Habit number 4. Create more than you consume. Voiceover. Final line. You can spend your life watching other people live their dreams, or you can wake up and start building yours. Scene 5. Your circle is your net worth. Habit number 5. Upgrade your network. Visual. Sitting in a group of friends, laughing and chatting, but no one's talking about growth or goals. Voiceover. I used to hang out with people who had no dreams. They laughed at the idea of success, made excuses, and told me to be realistic, and for a while I believed them. But the truth, you can't grow in a circle that doesn't believe in growth. Visual. Walking away from old crowd, looking reflective, or determined. One day, I heard this quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." That hit hard, because when I looked around me, no one was where I wanted to be. So I made a hard decision. I started distancing myself from people who didn't inspire me, and I started finding people who did. Visual. Networking events, video calls, mastermind groups, or reading, watching mentors online. I reached out to mentors. I joined groups full of ambitious people. I connected with creators, learners, builders, people who talked about ideas, not gossip. And everything changed. Their energy, it pushed me. Their wins, they inspired me. Their mindset, it elevated mine. Because success is contagious. When you're around winners, you start thinking like one. When your circle talks about goals, business, health, and impact, you grow just by listening. Visual. Celebrating success with your new circle, helping each other level up. Millionaires are intentional about who they spend time with. They protect their energy. They invest in relationships that help them rise. Text on screen. Habit number 5. Upgrade your network. Voiceover. Final line. Your circle can either be your cage or your wings. Choose wisely.